In this video, we are going to be talking about absolute maxima and absolute minima. Okay, make sure you read up on these and the extreme value theorem, and we're going to talk about second derivative test also. So at first, we're going to use the extreme value theorem that says on a closed interval, you're going to have if you're going to have an absolute max and absolute min. So these are always going to occur at either where the derivative is 0 or at the endpoints. So I went ahead and calculated the derivative, and which is 2x minus 6, and where it's 0, which is at x equals 3. And we're going to just check those three places. We're going to check the two endpoints. So we're going to check 0. We're going to check the function value at 3. So this is 9. Oops. 9 minus 18 plus 7 is negative 2. And f of 10. This is 100 minus 60, which is 47. Okay, so it looks like your absolute minimum will be negative at 3, negative 2. And 10, 47 will be your absolute maximum. If it's asking you where it happens, this one's at 3, this one's at 10. If it's asking you the value, that one's negative 2 and 47. You could also graph this. Okay. And if you think about it, this is a parabola, so it's a parabola that opens up, so it should have, and based on where it is, you see this one over here. You don't see it, but whatever the value is way over here is going to be way up here somewhere. That's going to be your maximum, then your minimum is going to be here. You could have the calculator calculate that if you weren't sure exactly where it was, but you can calculate it yourself too using the calculus, using the derivative. But you could have also done this, and then guess. Okay, and this is another case where it should be exactly 3, but it's not, but it's 3, negative 2. If you get a trace, you get a 10. So that value is 47. And if you had calculated these three, you could have also done this just to make your, you could have found that that one was 7, one was negative 2, and that one's 47. That would have been a quicker way to calculate those three also. Okay? So, on this example, we're not on a closed interval. So, we need to find where they could happen. We don't have any endpoints of the interval. So, if we have them, then they're going to occur at where the derivative is 0. Okay? And then we check the second derivative. The second derivative is positive. We have an absolute minimum. If the derivative is negative, then C is an absolute maximum. Okay? So, first derivative of this one is 36x squared minus 12x cubed. Okay. And we want to know where is that 0. I'm going to factor out a 12x squared. I have 3 minus x. So set them both equal to 0. So x equals 3, x equals 0. Okay, so we need to check both of those using the second derivative. So our second derivative is 72x minus 36x squared. Okay, so we need to plug both these numbers in and tell whether they are positive or negative. So let's try f double prime of 0, which is 72 times 0 minus 36 times 0 squared, which is 0. Okay, if we don't get something that's positive or negative, this is neither an absolute max nor an absolute min. I don't have that. Second derivative test is not telling us that it's one or the other. Okay, f double prime of 3, 72 times 3 minus 36 times 3 squared. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a negative 108. Okay, so since this is less than 0, there's an absolute max at x equals 3. Okay. That's all that's asking us for. Let's do the last one. Okay, if we were going to find the derivative, we get 1 minus 9 over x squared. I'm going to make that into something, and I'm going to multiply the first one by x squared over x squared. That gives me x squared minus 9 over x squared. Okay, let's find our critical numbers here. It's find where it's equal to 0. It's equal to 0 at x equals negative 3 and 3. It's undefined at 0. Okay. I'm going to take the second derivative. So we can check those. I don't really need to, I mean, we're not going to check where it's undefined. I'm just going to check these two. I'm going to take the derivative here. The derivative of 1 is 0. So I think this one looks easier to take. I could take the derivative of this one, which is quotient rule. I can use this one. It looks much nicer. So I'm just going to do this one. This one will be 18 over x cubed will be the derivative of this. Okay, so I'm going to check f double prime of negative 3 and f double prime of 3. Okay, so 18 over negative 27. All right, that's negative 3 cubed. Is going to be a negative number, right? Because you have a positive over a negative. And 18 over 3 cubed is going to give you a positive number. Okay, since this one is negative, you have an absolute max here. And this one's positive, you have an absolute min here. Okay, so you have an absolute max at negative 3 and an absolute min at 3. Maybe make a flashcard for this rule right here, the second derivative test, because it is so backwards from what you might think, right? Usually positive, you think big max, right? So usually think greater than 0 maximum, but it's the total opposite of that. So you may want to make a flashcard for that. Right, and that's absolute max and absolute min.